Hi, what's going on, guys? Trev back again. Here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my weekly review for the second last episode of Breaking Bad. That is Season 5, Episode 15, Granite State. Okay, so only one more left. Now, as always, my reviews do contain some spoilers. So for this one, a lot of spoilers because the storyline is so heavy and there's so many interesting things that happen in this episode, story-wise, writing-wise, that if you haven't seen it yet and you're worried about me spoiling it, then you may not want to watch the review. So one more episode left of Breaking Bad. The series is going to be completely over. This episode for me, we kind of knew, I did talk about in my predictions video, that my thoughts on it was it was going to be a slower episode. I didn't know it was going to be 53 minutes long, not counting commercials. So even longer than an hour, an additional 11 minutes roughly from what it usually is in terms of actual time. So it was a really nice to get that extra little bit and to get a lot of different scenes that really made us feel for Walt in his current predicament, and also Jesse too, and sort of their just tragic downfall, their absolute tragic downfall. Walt, in the place that he's in this episode, he's never been in a place like that in the entire series. He's been alone before, but this is sort of like just a desolate seclusion where he is completely just away from the world. He has no interaction with anyone. He gets to see the guy who's basically offering him a service and doesn't seem to like him. It seems like the guy knows who he is. The guy feels sorry for him for a bit, but not even to the point where he's willing to stay around for a couple hours for $10,000 when he's offered it. 1 hour, is basically what he'll do for 10 grand. So it actually seems like the guy who's helping him actually doesn't even like Walt at all. So, but he's doing it anyway because it's what he does, and it probably pays really, really well. So just in terms of feeling, a really different feeling episode from what we're used to from Breaking Bad. All of those different things combined is just very sad, very emotional type episode. Probably the highlights for me would be when you have Jesse almost escaping, very exciting, and then of course them punishing him for doing it. Wow, that was so tragic to see, especially from his perspective. Great acting. I mean, the acting on Breaking Bad is one thing that episode to episode it is always on point. You'll never see an episode of Breaking Bad where any of the acting feels fake, any of the acting doesn't feel like it hit home. Aaron Paul's acting, amazing. Walt's acting, amazing. Even, or Bryan Cranston. Even Flynn, or Walt Jr., who they're now calling Flynn all the time. His acting too, when he's on the phone with Walt, just, oh man, so tragic that he blames, money, it really goes to show in this episode, there's some really interesting psychological tidbits you can get from different things. And that money is something that we always, as adults especially in life, it has such a huge control over our lives. But the saying, money isn't everything. This episode really demonstrated well how money is not everything. Freedom, having people you care about around you, people you love, having that stable home and family and all these things, so much more important than having money. Walt being by himself, he's got his $1 million, whatever, in seclusion, totally, completely depressed to a new degree, to the point where he doesn't even care, it seems at the end, whether or not he gets caught, to the point where he's actually kind of giving himself up, so to speak, or it seemed like he was going to, and then came to his senses after that emotional sort of moment, and then decided he was he's got some unfinished business, he's got some things he still wants to do before that happens. Namely, of course, getting his family the money, even though we're not sure, if what's going to happen with that now. Are they going to get it? Are the cops going to seize it? Are they going to find him? All of these different interesting questions come into play. Very, very good for the finale. So we did think it was going to be a slowdown. We kind of knew it was going to be, but all at the same time, it was so emotional. Such an emotional ride throughout this episode for how we feel for Walt, for how we feel for Skylar and the family, for how we feel for Jesse, and just all of the characters. Very, very emotional. So let's take it from the top. Let's go scene by scene. One thing I didn't expect was that Saul was going to just bounce. But I guess because he was the lawyer that represented, and I guess that's publicly known that he represented Jesse and Walt and all the shit's hit the fan, he's doing the smart move, which is taking what he's got and getting the hell out of Dodge, which is what he's doing. So he's going to be going, I think they said Nebraska. What's in Nebraska? You are. So that was an interesting twist. I really liked how they played off on the whole "we're done" when I say we're done, and it's over when and then Saul, and then he starts coughing, and Saul's it's over, man. So that was emotional right there to see him bounce. I wonder if we'll see Saul again in the series. I tend to think we won't, and if Saul does end up getting his own spin-off show, which he's supposed to, I believe it's a prequel, but it'd be kind of interesting to see if they don't show him in the finale where he's at afterwards. When he skips town and he goes to Nebraska, what is he going to do? What's his life going to be like? What's going to happen to him as a character? That'd be interesting to see. So I hope if that show does go through and everything of the sort, we get to see what happens to Saul after all of this is said and done eventually. So hopefully next episode we'll see at least something from Saul, and if not, hopefully in that other spin-off series we'll see what happens to him. I think we're to assume that he's smart enough now. He knows he's got to get the hell out of there. Being a lawyer, he knows the ins and outs of everything. So, he's got to go. He has no chance. So that was interesting to see. I really liked the way that played off and the way they sort of touched back on that scene. Was that in season 4, I think, or was it 3? I think season 4, where Walt said that to him. So that was a really cool, nice tie back. There was a lot of that in this episode, especially at the end where you have Gray Matter, those two people that started Gray Matter, a couple with Walt, and that also, again, very saddening that they have no choice but to downplay for their company, downplay his role in the founding and try to behave as if he had really nothing to do with it, aside from coming up with a name, and he makes the fist. So we'll see if maybe in the finale he does something about it, or if he takes out all of his aggression on Jack. That is assuming that he doesn't get caught, which hopefully he won't. I guess he can't, because we saw the out of chronological order scene before where he had that huge machine gun, and we haven't seen him use it yet, and we haven't seen that yet. So obviously, and go back to his house. So obviously we know he can't get caught. He's got to, and that would make for a very interesting finale if he just got arrested and that was it. So, plus he looks a lot different now. He's got the hair and everything. So he could probably, go into town, go back to New Mexico, and be relatively unnoticed for the most part. So that was all good stuff. Let's see. Okay. Hank's place is jacked. We see Marie just for a split second, then they get her out of there. And we see that Jack's crew, like I said, down to a science. They got everything down to an absolute science. Goes through the place and ransacks it and takes the tape, the confession tape. Luckily they did, because in it, Jesse had implicated Todd as the murderer of that boy, if you remember in that the train episode. So that was interesting to see what happened with that. Let's see. You see Jesse being held captive. Probably definitely in a worse state than Walt, even though they're both in pretty bad states. He definitely should have left before, in hindsight. Okay, going on from there, let's see. Walt still wants to kill Jack, which we kind of see as he's talking to Saul. He's still planning. He's still trying to do some things, but Saul's like, no, that's it. Just let it go. Because if it isn't one enemy, it's going to be another. First it was Gus, first Tuco and Gus, and then now with Jack, it's just like enemies keep popping up all over the place for him. So Saul's attitude, I imagine, would just be leave it alone. Let's get the hell out of here. That's it. Forget about it. Move on. And also talking to him about Skylar, which was good stuff as well too. Which is true. We do get that quick scene where with Skylar, she's being talked to by some of the lawyers, and she really doesn't know where he is, so there's not much she can really do aside from just suffer going through the whole process of finding out how much jail time she's going to do, if any. Is she going to get away with it? What's going to happen with that will be interesting to see in the finale. Todd's crew shows up at Walt's place, so that one right there was pretty exciting to see, or at least I believe it was their house, yeah, the same old one, at least at that point. When Todd's crew shows up, sees the baby, and wants to protect Lydia. I think that's kind of funny that Todd has this thing for Lydia, and just, I don't know, wants to hook up with her or whatever the case may be, and is trying to protect her. Well, they have mutual interests anyway. But it is true that what Jack says, that they have so much money, what do they care anyway? They could just forget about the whole thing, and that would be that. So I imagine in the finale, Lydia's going to probably walk away scot-free, but we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I tend to think she'd get her just desserts, but there's so much else going on, and we only have 53 minutes left of Breaking Bad. It kind of seems like she might be one of those characters that may get away with it. So we'll see what happens with that in the finale. Todd's got to pay. For everything he's done, he has to pay in the finale, so hopefully we'll see that. I'm sure we probably will. Walt's vengeance, so to speak. So there's that. Moving on from there, let's see. Walt's new name is Mr. Lambert, I guess, New Hampshire. Let's see. There's a nationwide manhunt out for him, we find out, which was kind of cool to see. I did like the scene where he put on the Heisenberg hat and it played the music in the background. I was like, oh man, I love it. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Let's see. Aside from that, Todd being really sick, killing Jesse's girl like that, and then of course they're going to leave Brock just to keep him in line, just in case he gets out of line again. All right, a month has passed. Another thing we know from the episode, because Walt's obviously grown his hair and the guys come back to see him, whatever that guy's name is. Walt's family is basically broke in terms of what we've seen, and there may not be a way for him to get them the money, and Junior may not even really want it, plus may not have the maturity to understand that they're probably going to need that, just with the lawyer fees and everything, whether or not he wants it. Otherwise they may be screwed. Let's see. So aside from that, just a really tragic episode, a really touching ending with him on the phone with Junior, and watching the whole gray matter thing. I really like the way in Breaking Bad they've tied in a lot of the previous elements from previous seasons into the finale to make it all feel really cohesive and just really all a proper finale for the series that has some nice little throwbacks, like the people from Gray Matter, who most of us have probably just forgotten about at this point. There's so much else going on in the series, we just are like, whatever, we wouldn't even think about them, and let alone him to just all of a sudden see them on TV. So a lot of really nice little throwbacks, nice little tiebacks into things that happened before in the show with Saul, Walt, and then of course Gray Matter. And it's a great setup. It's a great setup for a finale. What's going to happen next, I think, is the most exciting part of it. Are we going to see, Walt exact his vengeance? Is he going to be able to get his family the money? Are they going to take it if he can? Is Jesse going to survive? Is he going to get away? Will Walt kill Jesse if he does find him there? Will he let him go? Will Brock be okay? Lots of different questions, and only 53 minutes to answer them all. So I guess we'll see what happens. I imagine the finale will be really high-paced, probably really exciting, and in the end, I've predicted a long time ago, I think it's going to be Walter White's time. We've seen his health now deteriorate even further, to the point where even walking into town for him seems really difficult for him to do, because it took him a couple tries to go ahead and do it. And that's pretty much all I got to say. A great episode, a great setup for the finale. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Really emotional, really sad at the end, and one more for the big hurrah. So I will do a predictions video definitely for the finale, because I got a lot of thoughts about that. And this episode for me was really, really a touching one, and just one that really sets us up for what may be the most epic finale I've ever seen in a TV series, which I'm expecting it is, because right now Ozymandias, man, that was like, wow. I don't know if the finale is going to beat Ozymandias. I think it kind of, by virtue of what it seems like is going to happen, it will. But we'll have to see how it all plays out. Anyway, I'll talk more about that in the predictions video, which I'll put up in the next couple days. I'll try to get it up as soon as possible. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought about the semi-finale or the second last episode in all of Breaking Bad. Did maybe some of you not like it since it was slower and there was a lot that happened, but it was a lot of setup for the finale. And what did you think about the emotional parts, the emotional moments, especially with Walt on the phone with Walt Jr.? I loved it. Anyway, pretty much all I got to say for this one, guys. Can't wait for the finale. Just, whew, can't wait to see how it all turns out. Call here. That's it for this video. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace, guys.